When I say, oh, I grew up in Paris, Texas, a lot of people go, oh, I actually had a really good experience growing up in my small town. There were moments of bullying and there were moments that I felt isolated, but all in all, I love being from my small town.
When I think about being LGBTQ in a small town, people very much incorrectly assume that folks that live here in rural Stanton, rural Shendandoah Valley, that we're miserable and that we're lonely, and that is very much not the case.
There are a lot of gay people who are thriving in small towns. It's not the small town that's the problem, it's the number of people who are small-minded.
Even though I live my life in a small town, I am still pulling from representations of media of what small town rural life looks like. And so that looks like white folks, or maybe stories of discrimination or stories of isolation. What I'm finding, and the reason why I love living here, is that is not the case. I think there's an immense diversity and representation of what queer identity is here in rural Virginia.
That's incredibly disruptive, not only because Black people, as long as we have existed, have been beautifully and incredibly diverse, but because we are disproportionately concentrated with other Black people. We live in the South. And when you ask Black people why they stay often in small, rural, and isolated communities, it's because of community. It's because they want to be connected to family.
There is almost a stereotype of folks who live in rural America, but we know that there are communities that are not being heard, they're not being seen, and their needs are certainly not being addressed. And so our work is to ensure that no one is falling through the cracks, and if they are, how do we fill those gaps? Adding voices, underrepresented voices, enriches the tapestry of and the representation of what rural America looks like, what the rural LGBTQ community looks like. And that is important work broadly.
Find a place where you feel protected, seek out people who are safe spaces for you, and always love yourself.
I feel more rooted here than I have in any other place that I've lived. We are maybe not as visible, but we are just as powerful.